before we dive into the most forbidden knowledge about quantum consciousness that will literally transform your understanding of reality itself, I need to ask you something. What time is it where you are right now, and where in the world are you watching from? I'm asking because time and location are about to become completely irrelevant concepts once you understand what I'm about to share with you today. The ancient mystics knew that consciousness exists beyond the limitations of space and time, and quantum physics has now proven this to be true. So knowing where you think you are right now will make this revelation even more mind-blowing when you realize you're actually everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. Now, you've probably been told that consciousness is just a byproduct of your brain, something that emerges from neural activity like steam rising from boiling water. But what if I told you that's the biggest lie ever perpetuated by mainstream science? What if consciousness isn't produced by your brain, but rather your brain is more like a radio receiver that's tuning into the infinite field of quantum consciousness that permeates every atom, every molecule, every dimension of existence itself? What if the ancient mystery schools of Egypt, Tibet, and Greece were actually teaching advanced quantum physics thousands of years before modern science even existed? And what if this knowledge was deliberately hidden from humanity because once you understand the true nature of quantum consciousness, you become literally unstoppable in your ability to create reality? The truth is, every spiritualist, every seeker, every person on the path of awakening must understand this quantum consciousness connection because it's the missing link that explains everything, from why meditation works to how manifestation actually functions, from what happens during near-death experiences to how past life memories can be accessed, from the mechanics of telepathy to the reality of parallel dimensions. But here's the secret that they don't want you to know. Quantum consciousness isn't just some abstract concept that scientists debate in laboratories. It's the very fabric of your existence. It's the reason you can think, feel, dream, and create. It's the bridge between the physical and spiritual realms. And once you truly grasp this knowledge, you'll never see yourself, your life, or reality the same way again. Let me take you back to the beginning of this incredible journey of discovery, because the story of quantum consciousness starts in the most unexpected place, in the laboratories of early 20th century physicists who thought they were just studying the behavior of tiny particles, but instead stumbled upon the greatest spiritual truth ever revealed by science. Max Planck, the father of quantum theory, was trying to solve a simple problem about how heated objects emit light, but what he discovered literally shattered the materialistic worldview that had dominated science for centuries. He found that energy doesn't flow in continuous streams like water from a faucet, but comes in discrete packets or quanta, which means reality itself is fundamentally digital, not analog, made up of tiny units of information rather than continuous matter. But here's where it gets absolutely mind-blowing. When other scientists like Werner Heisenberg and Niels Bohr began studying these quantum particles, they discovered something that defied all logic. These particles existed in multiple states simultaneously until someone observed them, and the very act of observation collapsed what physicists call a wave function, forcing the particle to choose a specific state. Now, you might think this is just weird physics that has nothing to do with spirituality, but what if I told you that the ancient Vedic texts of India described this exact phenomenon thousands of years ago? The rishis taught that reality exists in a state of infinite potential until consciousness observes it into manifestation. They called this principle Maya, the illusory nature of physical reality, and they understood that consciousness was the fundamental creative force that shapes the quantum field of possibility into the experiences we call life. Werner Heisenberg himself, after studying Eastern philosophy, said that what we observe is not nature itself, but nature exposed to our method of questioning, which is exactly what the Buddha taught 2,500 years ago when he said that the observer and the observed are inseparable, that consciousness and reality are two sides of the same cosmic coin. The implications of this discovery are absolutely staggering because it means that consciousness isn't just along for the ride in this universe, it's literally driving the bus. It's the creative force that's constantly collapsing infinite possibilities into actual experiences, which means you are not just a passive observer of reality, You're an active participant in its creation. But wait, there's more. When scientists began studying what happens when particles become entangled, they discovered something even more revolutionary that the ancient mystics had been teaching all along. Two particles that have interacted remain mysteriously connected no matter how far apart they travel. When you change the state of one particle, the other particle instantaneously changes as well, even if it's on the other side of the galaxy. Einstein called this spooky action at a distance because it seemed to violate the speed of light. But what he didn't realize is that this quantum entanglement is actually the scientific explanation for what mystics have always called the unified field, the interconnected web of consciousness that links every atom, every being, every dimension in one vast, intelligent, living system. The ancient hermetic principle as above, so below suddenly makes perfect sense when you understand quantum entanglement, because it means that changes in your consciousness instantly affect the consciousness of others. Changes in your energy field immediately influence the quantum field around you, and changes in your thoughts and emotions literally reshape the fabric of reality itself. This is why prayer works. This is why healing at a distance is possible. This is why when you truly transform yourself, everyone around you begins to change as well, because quantum consciousness operates through entanglement, through the instantaneous connection between all points in space and time. The Tibetan monks knew this secret when they developed their practices of remote viewing and consciousness projection. The Egyptian priests understood this when they built the pyramids using principles of sacred geometry that harmonize with the quantum field. The Greek mystery schools taught this when they spoke of the nous, the divine mind that permeates all existence and connects every individual consciousness to the cosmic consciousness. But here's what most people don't realize. This quantum entanglement doesn't just connect you to other people or even other planets. It connects you to all possible versions of yourself existing in parallel dimensions. Which means that every choice you make, every thought you think, every emotion you feel is literally selecting which quantum reality you experience from an infinite menu of possibilities. Now let's dive deeper into the most forbidden aspect of quantum consciousness that mainstream science desperately tries to ignore because it completely destroys their materialistic worldview, the role of the observer effect in creating reality, and why this proves that consciousness is not only fundamental to the universe, but that your individual consciousness is literally one of the most powerful creative forces in existence. The famous double-slit experiment, which has been called the most important experiment in quantum physics, reveals something so profound that it challenges everything you've been taught about the nature of reality. When scientists shoot individual photons or electrons through two parallel slits, something absolutely miraculous happens depending on whether someone is watching or not. When no one observes the particles as they travel through the slits, they behave like waves, creating an interference pattern on the detection screen that proves they went through both slits simultaneously, existing in what physicists call a superposition of all possible states. But the moment someone sets up a detector to observe which slit the particle goes through, it immediately collapses into behaving like a particle, going through only one slit and creating a completely different pattern. This means that the very act of conscious observation literally changes the behavior of matter at the most fundamental level, which is exactly what the ancient Kabbalists meant when they taught that the divine name of God, the Tetragrammaton YHVH, represents the process by which infinite potential becomes manifest reality through the power of observation and intention. But here's where it gets even more mind-bending. Scientists discovered that it doesn't matter when the observation takes place. They can set up what's called a delayed choice experiment where they decide whether to observe the particle after it has already supposedly gone through the slits, and incredibly, the particle's past behavior changes based on the future decision to observe it. This proves that consciousness operates outside of linear time, that your awareness in this moment can literally influence events in the past and future, which is exactly what shamans and mystics have been teaching for millennia when they speak of healing ancestral patterns, retrieving soul fragments from past traumas, and accessing information from probable futures. The implications of this are absolutely revolutionary because it means that time is not a river flowing in one direction. but more like an ocean where consciousness can navigate in any direction, accessing any point, influencing any event across the entire spectrum of existence. The ancient Egyptians understood this when they built their temples and tombs with specific orientations that aligned with stellar cycles spanning thousands of years. They knew that consciousness could transcend linear time and that rituals performed in the present could influence events in both the deep past and the distant future. The Tibetan practice of Bardo Thodol, the journey through the intermediate states between death and rebirth, is actually a technology for navigating quantum consciousness through multiple timelines and dimensions, teaching the practitioner how to maintain awareness while consciousness transitions between different states of reality. But here's the secret that will absolutely blow your mind. Every moment of your life, you're unconsciously performing this observer effect. Your consciousness is constantly collapsing the wave function of infinite possibilities into the specific reality you experience, which means that what you call your life is actually just one specific path through an infinite quantum maze of possibilities that you're selecting through your beliefs, expectations, emotions, and attention. This is why spiritual teachers have always emphasized the importance of mindfulness, meditation, and conscious awareness, because when you become truly conscious of your role as the observer, you can begin to deliberately choose which quantum reality you collapse into experience. You can literally select a different timeline, a different version of yourself, a different set of circumstances by changing what you observe, what you expect, and what you believe is possible. The ancient Vedic concept of Lila, the divine play of consciousness, describes exactly this process. The idea that the infinite field of pure consciousness is constantly playing hide and seek with itself, collapsing into countless individual observers experiencing countless different realities, all while remaining one unified field of awareness. When you understand this, you realize that separation is the ultimate illusion, that you and everyone else are actually different observation points of the same infinite quantum consciousness experiencing itself from countless different perspectives simultaneously. This is why when you heal yourself, you heal the world. Why when you raise your vibration, you lift everyone around you. Why when you awaken to your true nature as quantum consciousness, you contribute to the awakening of all consciousness everywhere across all dimensions and timelines. The hermetic axiom "know thyself" takes on incredible new meaning when you realize that the self you're meant to know is not your individual personality or ego, but the infinite quantum consciousness that is your true nature, the observer that exists beyond space and time, the creative force that is constantly choosing which reality to experience from an infinite field of possibilities. But now we need to explore the most practical and life-changing aspect of quantum consciousness: how understanding these principles can literally transform your ability to heal, manifest, and evolve. Because this isn't just abstract theory, this is the operating manual for human consciousness that has been hidden from humanity for far too long. The secret lies in understanding what quantum physicists call coherence, which occurs when quantum systems synchronize their wave patterns to create incredibly powerful, focused states that can influence reality in ways that seem miraculous to those who don't understand the science behind them. And your consciousness, when properly aligned, can achieve this same quantum coherence that allows you to literally rewrite the quantum code of your reality. The ancient mystery schools knew this secret, which is why they developed specific practices like meditation, chanting, breathwork, and sacred geometry to create coherent states of consciousness that could access what they called the Akashic records, the quantum information field that contains all knowledge, all possibilities, all timelines existing simultaneously. Modern neuroscience has now proven that during deep meditative states, the human brain produces what's called gamma wave coherence, where different regions of the brain synchronize their electrical activity at frequencies between 30 to 100 Hz, creating a unified field of consciousness that can access information and abilities far beyond normal waking awareness. But here's what's truly revolutionary: when your consciousness achieves this coherent state, it begins to resonate with the quantum field itself, creating what physicists call quantum resonance, where your individual awareness becomes entangled with the infinite intelligence of the universe, allowing you to access healing frequencies, manifestation abilities, and expanded awareness that were previously impossible. This is the scientific explanation for why prayer works, why intention can heal at a distance, why visualization can manifest physical changes in reality, why meditation can access information from across space and time. Your consciousness, when coherent, becomes quantum entangled with the field of infinite possibility and can literally influence the collapse of the wave function to select desired outcomes from the quantum menu of realities. The Tibetan practice of tummo, where monks can raise their body temperature through meditation alone, is actually a demonstration of quantum consciousness affecting physical matter directly through coherent intention. The monks are using focused awareness to influence the quantum field of their cellular structure, increasing molecular vibration and generating heat that can melt snow on their bodies in freezing temperatures. Similarly, the phenomenon of psychokinesis, where consciousness can move physical objects without touching them, makes perfect sense when you understand that matter is actually condensed energy existing as probability waves in the quantum field, and coherent consciousness can influence these probability waves to manifest different physical outcomes. The ancient Egyptian priests were masters of this technology, using coherent consciousness to levitate massive stone blocks during the construction of the pyramids, accessing the quantum field through specific sound frequencies, sacred geometries, and group coherence rituals that modern archaeology can't explain because they refuse to acknowledge the reality of consciousness-matter interaction. But here's where it gets absolutely incredible for your personal transformation. Every emotion you feel, every thought you think, every belief you hold is actually a specific frequency pattern that your consciousness broadcasts into the quantum field, and like tuning forks that resonate with similar frequencies, you attract experiences, people, and circumstances that match your dominant frequency signature. This is why spiritual teachers have always emphasized the importance of purifying your thoughts and emotions, because they understood that consciousness operates through the law of quantum resonance, where like frequencies attract like frequencies across the multidimensional spectrum of reality. When you heal traumatic patterns, release limiting beliefs, and cultivate higher emotional states like love, gratitude, and compassion, you're literally changing your quantum signature to resonate with timelines and realities that contain more joy, abundance, health, and fulfillment. You're tuning your consciousness to broadcast on frequencies that attract quantum possibilities aligned with your highest potential. The ancient practice of mantra chanting works by creating specific sound frequencies that induce quantum coherence in your consciousness while simultaneously broadcasting these coherent frequencies into the quantum field, creating a feedback loop that amplifies your ability to manifest desired changes in your reality. This is why different mantras produce different effects. OM resonates with the fundamental frequency of the universe itself, activating unity consciousness and cosmic awareness, while mantras like Sohum create coherence with your individual identity as infinite consciousness, and healing mantras like Ramadasa create quantum resonance with regenerative frequencies that can restore health and vitality at the cellular level. The key to mastering quantum consciousness is understanding that you are not separate from the field of infinite intelligence. You are the field experiencing itself from a unique perspective, which means that any limitation you experience is simply a misunderstanding of your true nature as unlimited quantum consciousness with the power to collapse any possibility into reality through the coherent application of awareness, intention, and emotion. What you've learned today about quantum consciousness isn't just information, it's initiation into the greatest secret ever discovered, the truth that consciousness and quantum physics are revealing the same fundamental reality that ancient mystics have been teaching for thousands of years. You now understand that you are not a victim of circumstances, but the creative observer collapsing infinite possibilities into your unique experience through the power of your awareness. You are quantum consciousness itself, exploring reality from your individual perspective while remaining eternally connected to the unified field of infinite intelligence. The journey of awakening is really the journey of remembering your true nature as the observer, the creator, the quantum consciousness that is both individual and universal, both human and divine. both the wave and the particle in the grand experiment of existence. Take this knowledge and let it transform not just how you think about reality, but how you experience it, because now you know the secret, now you have the key, now you understand the full story of quantum consciousness that every spiritualist must know. Thank you for joining me on this incredible journey of discovery, and remember, you are so much more than you've ever been told.